Good evening, folks, and welcome to this edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Earl Bass, and I'm joined by co-hosts Garrett Punchy Dill and Dennis Brown. And tonight we feature two well-known footballers and well-respected gentlemen in the community, Fred Pinks Lewis and Larry Smith. First of all, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Earl. Everybody.
I know Punchy and Dennis are itching right off the bat to get to you guys and start asking questions. So you know what, I'm gonna let Punchy open it up. So go ahead, Mr. Dill.
Hey, good evening, fellas. Great to have you on the show, both Pinks and Larry. It's such a pleasure, Coach. The first thing I want to start off with is that your careers. I know Pinksy with Social Club, of course. Larry, I know you started with Devonshire Colts. Pinks, I want to ask you a question. I remember when we first started out, I always remember this day, and we were just junior team, and you got Social Club beat us 18-0. Out the joint. Yes, I think you remember that. And yes, and we cried, and Doc Dillon just, I don't heard no tears. But anyway, I was saying I'm gonna bring that to your attention. It's something I always remember because we got a hiding that day. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that, but I do.
I remember.
Oh, okay. I remember. Yeah. That's right. It was 18-0. I had never been so humiliated, but I always remember that and say, you know what? And I remember. Let me tell you what Doc said to us. I'm going on about this. Said, don't worry. One day we're gonna get you back. Bermudians say, we'll get them back. So, yeah, what I want to ask you, both of you, I know, Pinch, you were with Social Club lifelong before you moved on to PHC.
Yeah.
I know tell me what your experience was like with coming through Social Club ranks and with Larry also, coming through the ranks of with Social Club and with Devonshire Colts. What was it like?
Well, it was great, man, because when I was younger and the club, like when they had the team met just for a game, this is have a meeting. Everybody was, put a little piece in, have that maybe disagreements, but they all played together as a team. They always went to the game together. Then one car took off, the rest just followed, man. And I just carry guys' boots, so I can get in the games free. Yeah, and taught me to be sort of respect other players, man. And you listen to them, how they talk, and you realize how they like to play or how they like to bowl. See, some people, like myself, sometimes they talk and they get real loud. And people think I'm getting mad or something like that. But people getting around me, you find out that it's just a natural thing for me. So you find out with your different players. And up to today, all of us really are still good friends. And when you see us talk, we think about seeing each other every day, but we don't. That's like you, your brother, Carl. Hey, it was great, man. And to be at you guys now doesn't have that. I was hung around the players every time they had a meeting, and you listen to them, man. Guys would say, "Well, look, this guy, this is what he does," and I used to tell the fullback, listen, I want to go to my feet. If I'm gonna run past the players with the ball. I ain't gonna chase the ball. So that's why they try to give me the ball all the time to my feet. But guys nowadays, they don't talk to each other and let each other know how they like the ball and all that. They play balls up to a guy who don't care but don't like bullet. I tell them I don't bullet. The game's ball, they put it to my feet.
Right.
And it's just the togetherness be here. Even before I even really got into top class, just as a young player, 9 years old,
Yes. And Larry, you're coming up through the ranks of Devonshire Colts. What was that like?
Devonshire Couch really reminds me of building a house where you have to have a solid foundation. And I think my solid foundation really, Devonshire Couch. Everything about me is and was Devonshire Couch. And I do believe that the discipline that I have right now in coaching came through the disciplinary measures that Donald Dick Dane put us through. And a lot of people think that discipline is being harsh, but discipline actually made most of our lives through Devonshire Coates and that great man that I respect forever, Donald Dick Dane. And Donald Dick Dane, and I've said this over and over again to many people that I'm convinced that Donald Dane was ahead of his time because a lot of the training sessions you see in modern era, we did at Devonshire Coates that they were named differently. You know, people now call them things like pressing, and Devonshire Coates used to call it hunting and packs. So it was a learning experience, and eventually, after breaking a leg, it actually sent me into coaching because I got a bit timid to play football anymore.
I see. Thank you.
Dennis?
Yes, good night, gentlemen, again. I also call Larry Coach. He was one of the coaches who took our team to another level when he came Coach Thompson in 1987-88 season, and I've been in the league. And another tragedy was in Mortimer for the friendship, one of those two, but he took us to another level, and I still call him Coach right up to today. I got to know Pinks when he was assistant coach in the national team. And one of the things he said is the togetherness off the field is transcends once you get onto the pitch. One question I want to ask both of you, is who were the early influences on your football career, like coming through, so Pinks coming through Social Club and Coach coming through Devonshire Coates? Who were the people who influenced your career early in your football career?
Well, put it straight, man. When I was younger, like I said, I used to watch Search for Faith and Marion Williams was, one of the players, Kiyotaka, because they like to dribble the ball, and and that's where I used to like to, and also I learned a lot in watching Mr. Wade, Yappa Wade. This was I tell players the only player I think in at my time coming up that you can call a complete player. That's the only jump I saw you both feet and can head a ball. And when he tried to go, he was always on target. Right? So I didn't remember the ball ever going over the top. Might have been a little wide at times, but it was always learning enough. It was on target. She was going, she can go in.
Okay. Coach?
I think for me, from a Devonshire Coates perspective, Happy Deal would have been my greatest influence and inspiration because of his hard work and his desire to win. And from a fullback perspective, I would say that Rudy Miners from Somerset impressed me all the time because he was an extremely good fullback. And that's where I ended up as a fullback in Devonshire Coates because I remember when I started out in Devonshire Coates, I thought I was a striker. And Donald Dane said to me one day that you don't have striking in you. And if you want to make this team, the only position I have available for you is a fullback. And he says, you're right and left footed. So you better try being a fullback. And I took his advice and I became a fullback. And even at national level, I remember being, in fact, Pinksy and I were in the same national team.
Yep.
That's right.
So I would say Pappy Dio and Rudy Miners.
What were some of the playing conditions back when you guys were playing? Because obviously, Pinksy, you and I were talking prior to coming on the air. there were many games played at the facility where Balco is now, and obviously a lot of teams played home and away there. So what were those conditions like?
Well, at Suspost Field, where BGA is now on Pittsburgh, right? And that was, I mean, that was a field. When it rained, it got flooded. But they put sand and played football. It was mostly mucky. Uh, you had a lot of small stones on it, hardly any grass. Seriously. And, you know, it was a rough field. Not, I mean, it was 100% worse than what the fields are now. Yeah.
I think
What about you, Larry?
I think if my memory serves me correct, St. George's was our home pitch,
Yeah.
and St. George's has always been a very, very good pitch. Our training pitch was down Frog Lane, behind those police houses, uh, and which now is what
Practice.
practice or it's probably part of the national stadium these days. But that was our training pitch. But our home pitch was the St. George's, and that's the reason. And Deputy Coach, as you can all realize or remember, we were kind of like a possession-oriented team. So St. George's was fit for the kind of football we wanted and liked to play.
Punchy?
Yeah, hey, Pinks and Larry, both of you asked a question. The guys you played with, Pinks, who did you think when you played with Toe Deal, Webster Mills? Who did you think that just never got the gratitude, never got the pat on the back, but they did, that you were very proud to play with? Like because it was always you, Pinks, I remember you and Toe, and I forget who else, and Webster Mills. But who else could you say that nobody thought about or wasn't much written about them? Who would you say that? What names will come to mind? Maybe senior like Walker, or who would you say that at Social Club that didn't get the recognition that they should have? And for you too, Larry, at Devonshire Colts.
Well, me personally, the first one would be Larry Durrell. He was a steady midfield player. He didn't say much. We was always teasing. Actually, we made him captain of the team to see if we can get him to talk. You know, and not too late that Larry ended up playing for the national team. Actually, he captained the national team. I believe when he did play for, I had sort of finished playing for the national team. You know, and let me see who else could have been. We had a couple really. You know, we had a couple good players, and you know, but I guess it's hard to really say when you got so many guys around you that are pretty good. But like I said, Larry Darrell stand out for me for the club.
Oh, okay, yeah. And for
I,
you, Larry?
I like to think that I don't think Vic Ball got the recognition that he deserved, and the other person I like to think that Alsworth Lambert probably didn't get the recognition that he deserved because they were two very steady players, and they were giants on the ball and off the ball. You know, they were not the Marcus Douglases of the world, but they didn't get the recognition that they deserve. Those are the two that really comes to mind. But we had a bit of a star-studded team, so but we didn't have a whole lot of players that made national level.
Okay, all right.
Dennis?
To both guys, I remember watching Social Club with dynamic forward line with Pinks, Mal, Toadie, very dynamic. And I also remember watching Devonshire Colts, like Coach said, Devonshire Colts were like a real technical team. One of my favorite center backs came from Devonshire Colts, Marcus Douglas. So what were some of the training habits of you guys personally? Like we always preach up to the players today about doing their extras, doing this and doing that to get better. What were you guys' personal training habits like while you were playing coming through?
Well, we guys, like, Mondays after the game, we always should meet around the club. We just go for our runs. We just have a race sometimes for Search Club, go through Bernard's Park, through Blackbush Pass, come up Langton Hill, and back around the club. And it was a race. We were, just jog. We compete against each other in training.
So that was a Monday after the game?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then after we finished the run and all that, we just go in the clubhouse, in the meeting room, put tables together, and rub down each other. Rub our legs down. I rub you, you rub me, and we just talk about the game while doing this. And how each other felt the day before, the game before and all that. And then on Tuesday when we go training, we work on those things that we sort of think that we was lacking in and all that. That's it.
I think my extras, I always like to run. So and of course becoming a cop, I had to do some extras because there are times I couldn't train with Devonshire Colts, especially if I was on a 40 midnight shift. So I would have to do my own extras, and I'll do my own running. And if I had the time, I would drop in on the field and look at the sessions. But keeping myself fit was the most important thing because you couldn't afford to get out of shape. And I'll tell you what about Devonshire Colts, it was so competitive to get into the team that you better not get out of shape or you better not get injured. Things got so bad sometimes trying to get in Devonshire Colts team, man, that some of the training sessions, guys, not maliciously, but boy, somebody would give you a little rack so they can knock you out of they can knock you out of shape so that they can get in your spot, man. Because once you got a spot in Devonshire Colts, you have to keep it. I think the privilege that I had was the fact that other than trying to stay in shape myself, I kind of like once I made the team, I was very rarely out of the team because I was left-footed and right-footed. So if the left back got injured, then I'll switch over to left back and somebody will come in as right back or vice versa. So it's a privilege. It was a privilege to be right-footed and left-footed.
Pinks, you had a stint at the NASL in the US playing for, what is it, Philadelphia?
Philadelphia.
Yeah. What were those times like for you playing out of Bermuda, but you played against guys from Bermuda in other teams?
And Philadelphia, actually, I played against some of the best. Beckenbauer, Peter Benetti, Eusebio, and a lot more, and watching them, even when we was preparing to, start the game, warming up, and watching things they was doing, man, it was completely different than being back home because, they really showed their professionalism and everything else. And some of the things I used to do, but hey, it was a nice thing. I never really wanted to play professional football. I just wanted to see what it was like. But I learned a lot from it. The game and also the amount of part of being a teammate to other people. Because my team, we had players from Liverpool, Everton, Scotland, all over, France. And so, you had to get to know each other, or at least be sort of friendly with each other for us to play. And it's good how people that really don't speak each other's language good can really be friendly and can help each other. All right.
Larry, when obviously you've already stated that you got into coaching after being timid after breaking your leg and all that, but the first lesson you learned when you started going into the coaching realm, what was that?
Well, let me get to the coaching side of things. Um, After breaking my leg playing for Bermuda against Burnley, I'll never forget Burnley actually, and I'll never forget the guy named Peter Noble. I don't know whether they're still living, but I hope we meet up one of these days because I've got to get him back from someday. um, but I blame myself for the injury because we guys got taught how to protect ourselves when we go into a sliding tackle, and that is to keep your trailing leg close to the tackling leg. But mine were wide open, and the guy just came right through and broke my tib and my fib. And so once I recovered, I tried to get back into Devonshire Coat team, and I just couldn't make the team. So one day I just walked off the training session. I went down to North Village to watch them train, and Doc Dillon was always my friend. He said, you're not gonna make Devonshire Coat team anymore. Come over here." Well, North Village had a pretty competitive team as well, and I think I probably played one or maybe just a half a game. And Doc substituted me and says, "You better be a coach because you can't make this team either." So I got into coaching North Village, but prior to that, I was working with the BFA, and I think they were the ones that sent me overseas for my first license. I went to the UK, and when I came back, I was qualified to coach. And I think that helped things much better when I took over the North Village coaching from Doc. And it's a competition between North Village and Somerset in my coaching career. North Village was a very possession-oriented team, and Somerset was more aggressive than North Village. But they were both, coaching in those days was so much different than today. You didn't have to beg guys to train, man. Guys wanted to play football, and training, the numbers was always gigantic. You know what I mean? So you didn't have to worry about it, man. You just planned the training session, and you can execute it because you had the numbers all the time. And getting into the starting 11 was it for both teams, North Village and Somerset. And so I suppose this sounds stupid, but I suppose breaking a leg ended up being a blessing because it turned me into coaching.
The question for next. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions, but the first one, when we become the Lone Pinks and Larry, you always kind of think, who am I gonna play like? Because wasn't that much football on TV. We got it very really. So now when I look at certain players, I kind of match them up with people that I played against who I admired so much, and definitely Larry and both you and Dennis yourself, and especially you, Pinks, because I remember my first game to play against Social Club at Devonshire, how you tormented people. But I'm gonna say that if I had to kind of you can answer the question. If I had to kind of say, Pinks remind me of this. You remind me a lot of Aguero, Sergio Aguero. Not tall, but your touch and your first left. Your first touch was when I was watching, I was like, whoa. So for you, that's what you remind me of. For Larry, I think Larry is more, I don't know, now the attacking fullbacks are the way wingbacks now. I'm trying to make Larry. You remind me of maybe Trent Alexander in your heyday. Just really such technical ability. So
Yeah.
the question that I'm asking now is the same. Pinks, when we used to play against you, can you actually tell me why you tormented Joe Trot? I'm calling names. You used to torment him, and he just go nuts. What was it that you had and you're good friends today? So what I'm saying, getting there anyway. Some of the players that you played against, like Joe Trot, I used to always smile. Pinks, tell me what you had on Joe Trot.
I
Tell
tell
me
you,
what you had over.
really, we love good friends and stuff. I didn't have nothing. What I used to do, I used to tell when we kick off, I said, all I want you to do is play the ball up in the air. I said, I'll start with center forward. So when Joe, as you know, sometimes putting the ball, I had to wait for it to land. I said, kick him around his ankles, then run off. I come back down here, kick him, then I run wide. He just come up and he was getting mad because I was always just little snaps around his ankles and get away from him. I ain't hanging around. And he was getting mad and wanted to chase me. One time up the rack, I kicked him. And so I ran all the way back down towards my girl. And Mikey was attacking. Joe was coming after me, Bob. And so Cal said, man, where you going? Where you going? So people always ask me what I had, what I had on him on. I said, no, that's what I used to do is kick him around his ankles. And how Joe likes to play real cool and all that. I said, oh no, that's not happening. I'm the cool one. I'm the one that carries the ball. Joe likes to carry the ball. He that little slow party spur here. I said, yeah, kick around his ankles, run off. And he just didn't like it. But that's all we had. Yeah.
That's what I said.
Still good friends. We talk every time.
Yeah, I know you're still good friends. I remember being in those games. And Larry, for you playing against anybody that you tormented or that you just anybody comes to mind?
I think Tricks from Somerset was the guy that tormented the crap out of me. And even though Randy Wharton did not often come down the flanks, but that would be considered my toughest opponent. Randy Wharton, I remember taking Randy Wharton out one day down Devonshire Rack. He reminds me of it every time he sees me. I just ran up early and brought my knee up and got him right in the back, man. He went down, Khaki Smith, I'm gonna get you. And I said, well, I got you first, buddy, because you have tormented me all day. He'll kick you, he'll run over you, he'll push you down because you know how big he was. Mm-hmm. But in terms of keeping me busy for 90 minutes and really challenging my ability as a fullback, I would say Dwayne Tricks Richardson. Is he Richardson?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Dwayne Tricks Richardson. That guy would torment me from the time the whistle blew. And I used to like to kick players off the ball with the referee not looking. but I couldn't even, the guy was so wily, like kicking him was like, God, you just can't kick him. And the only thing I tried to do with him was try not to give him any space to come and get, because he'll give you a little body swerve and I'll end up in the hospital with an injury, just trying to stop this body swerve he had. And it was like it's like a lazy kind of player, but you thought he was a lazy kind of player, just the way he ran and body swerve you, man. That guy made me have nightmares the night before we had to play Somerset.
Yes.
And I think those were that guy was my worst enemy when we played football. Good friends, but worst enemy on the football field. And I think Somerset and PHC would have been the most difficult teams that I played against when I was playing for Deputy Coach.
Dennis?
As you said earlier, both of you actually played for Bermuda's national team. What age were you guys when you first got into the national team, and give us some of your, fondest memories of representing Bermuda?
Well, actually, my first game playing for the national team, I played with Randy Wharton. Kenny Kane was my captain. Actually, Randy Wharton was a teacher at Barkley when I was playing. And that was around the same time, reading minors, and just being around them and talk about football and also about just life, and things. And it helped me to grow quicker, because a lot of people think I'm a Muslim, but I ain't. I just knew those are people play against or play with older people. But I remember when and Horton had his what's it was called, the Beetle, and we stayed out Prairie Lands out Queens Curve. Was a hotel out there then. Yeah, and hey, I learned a lot from those older fellas, and football wise, preparation for a game, and all that, and just life.
Coach?
I think from a national perspective, we had a very solid team. We had the likes of Joe Trott, we had Winston Trott, we had Hinks, we had Cal Deal, and Tuz. I don't know Tuz's name. What was Tuz? Tuz Deal. Harold Medeiros was our keeper. Braxton Still was the second keeper. George Brangman. We had a star-studded team, and I remember the tournament we played. I think it was Santo Domingo, Pinksy.
Yes.
Yeah, in Santo Domingo, Frankie Brewster was the center back.
Al Capone was there.
Who?
Al Capone.
Yeah. I was waiting for that.
You was?
We guys had a star-studded team, and it's amazing that over the years, we all remained friends, for those that we see. But that was a great team, and I think that not long after that tour, I think I was I was in my early 20s when I made the national team, and then and I made the national team throughout until I broke my leg. And then that was it. I think I broke my leg around, I think I must have been about 30. And I think that's when I really started coaching, actually, 29, 30. So I had about, all of that was in Devonshire coach. So most of my football over the years that I played football and at national level was a Devonshire coach player. And like I said, I tried North Village, but they were so star-studded I couldn't make the team. And so that's where coaching began. And then I had a stint with Devonshire Colts, but North Village was it for me when it came to coaching. And then I went up Somerset, and I said, man, what a privilege to be able to coach some of the finest players in Bermuda in two teams. You know what I mean? And often sit down and I say to myself, if I were to coach those guys today, to make one team, it'll be a hell of a time trying to pick who the hell is going to play. Because you had so many talented. You take a center back, for instance. You got Rock Brown, you got Joe Trott, you got Willie Baxter, and you want to play the three of them. So one of them's going to have to be a defensive midfield player because I want to play the three of them. You know what I mean? Those are the things that go through my mind when I'm got some free time. about the guys that I really coached. They were so flippin' talented, and they were so committed. And that's the reason why today, realistically, I'd like to be able to give up coaching if you want to compare today with yesterday. Never had a problem with anybody that I've coached in those times.
Pinks, everyone knows you from Young Men's Social Club, but and later in your years you went to PHC. What sent you to PHC? What made you go to PHC after leaving your home club?
Well, what happened was, I think, was Social Club on the second tour. I didn't go though. I didn't go. They came back, and all the other players left. I stayed there for a year or two, and actually, I was doing a little bit of coaching at the same time and playing. But the players, with the young guys who's come up at that time, they start, like I said, training supposed to be 6 o'clock. Just come at 6:30. So we end up not training because I'm a man that likes to make time. You tell me be there 6 o'clock, I'm there at least 5:45. I'm still that big. If you're not ready when they come pick you up, when the time you say so, I leave you.
Right.
And so I said, well, I wasn't going to damage the coach because Gary Darrell and I, we was roommates when we traveled together, national team and all that. He used to help me out all night sometimes just talking about football. And it was nice. But then I said, well, let me go up to PhD help my brother. Because my brother Leroy was coach at that time.
Right.
So I told him I think about coming. Then he used to send Mike around the club to pick me up, to bring me up there for training. Because I used to be around the club, so Mike used to work on Thursdays and Fridays. So he was going to pick me up and take me up to training. So I ended up training. First time I trained, I said, really? I said, I must have helped him out. So I just stayed up there with him.
Dennis, I want to ask you this question. When you heard that Larry was coming to coach Somerset, what was your thoughts?
So I was elated, man, because Larry is probably one of the best coaches this Ireland's seen. And I knew that with the talent that we had at Somerset at that time, because we had a good team in the first division and a good team in the second division, we had two teams. And I knew that once Larry came, he was going to take us to the next level because that's probably one of the fittest, and I was always fit. But that season there, I think that was probably one of my fittest seasons because when Larry first came, PHC had won the league the year before. And one of the things he told us, and it still sticks in my mind right up until today, is that in order for us to beat PHC, we have to be fitter than PHC. And he had us training from July 1st, probably the first Sunday in July, and he told us that we're going to be on the beach for 4 weeks straight without seeing a football. So we were at Horseshoe Beach for 4 weeks straight, training, physical, getting our bodies ready, getting our minds ready, because a lot of people just think that physical is for your body, but it's also for your mind. And he got us ready. And that year, we won the league. And like I said, we won another trophy. And, it was said that he couldn't carry on after that year. But that year he was with us. He took us to another level, both physically and mentally and tactically, because I think he's one of the best technical coaches that this art has seen, along with probably Danny Seymour, who is another technical coach. But Larry really took us to another level.
Punchy, I'm going to ask you this. Tell us one of the biggest memories of a match you had, if you had one, with Larry.
There's been quite a few. I think maybe the one up there in National Stadium, I think he was playing against Rangers. I know Larry probably had a problem because it was me, Parks, and Cal. And Parks, I had to compete against Parks also. But I think one of my most memorable games was when he's playing, even though it ended in such a farce when Rangers walked on the field. The game went on, and we just stuck to our task. And then I was the one that actually got the foul, and the players walked off the field. But there was quite a bit of memories with Larry, and I think I can say this: I think Larry fine-tuned us so well. He fine-tuned us. We were really we were getting there, but we needed something else, and he did that for us. And I'm sure when he first came out, people saying, "What did Dempsey Gold's coach coming out of North Village?" No, but I'm not but I had so much fond memories with Larry, and just simple stuff over and over, repetition, quality. And I do think that North Village, if I could say this, I think North Village, at least I remember, because I used to go to games with my brother Cal, and North Village take thumpings. And I always thought that the way I want to play is like Devonshire Colts. Sorry about that, Dennis. But yeah, that's the kind of game. But it's some great memories with Larry, and like I said, Larry fine-tuned us really well, and we did have quite a lot of talent there in North Village. But,
now, Larry, you would have been coaching guys near your age or just a little younger than you in both areas, both North Village and Somerset, with their senior players. How were you able to overcome that, coming from the fact that you were a player right into the coaching realm and coaching guys that you played with and near your age?
Well, I didn't find that a difficulty. It was the guys recognized. Let me put it this way. I think if I wasn't a cop, it may have been more difficult. But I brought my discipline from being a officer, and so when I disciplined the guys, we didn't have to do too much discipline because they were just a bunch of great guys that they made coaching easy for me, Earl. Both teams, that they made training easy. You didn't have to, guys knew that if you didn't train, you couldn't play. If you didn't train, you couldn't play. But then that was also made easy because everyone wanted to play. So the training sessions were huge in numbers, man. And so my greatest difficulty with both teams, it was who the heck am I going to start? And so many occasions, I'm going to tell you, man, what may have frustrated the players over the years on both teams is the fact that if you're winning, you can guarantee you're going to play the next week until we lost, and we didn't lose too many. So the starting 11 was almost always the same, and I'm not much of a substitute coach. Like if you're starting 11 and you're playing well, I'd rather be winning at a good 4 or 5-0 going into late second half before you're making substitutes just for the sake of making a substitute. Otherwise than that, my substitutes were always tactical. Anyone got injured, and I wouldn't even substitute a guy even if he was not playing. Every player is not going to have 100% game on any particular day, and sometimes you're just slightly below your level. But that doesn't justify you being substituted. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So for me, it was really a tactical sub and a player that's sometimes getting tired or a player's gotten injured. And so it was difficult to make subs in those two teams. And I'm grateful. And yes, I was equal to one or two of them's age, but they still respected it because I think they were respecting the kind of coaching they were getting. I think if I didn't know how to coach, it would have been a different story.
Mm.
But I think the guys, I've never had disrespect from any of those two teams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a real blessing to have coached them. I mean, I remember one time I got the 3 deals, and I'm saying, "Heck, man, these deals are taking up the front 3."
Yeah.
And then I had to make a decision. Then I had to make a decision. Cal would always play for me because he played a bit deeper than Punchy and Parks. He played it more like in a midfield role because he had a good engine. So it was a matter of Punchy and Parks as to which is going to start. And they had different styles. But Punchy, I'm sorry to hurt your feelings tonight, but
I love it. I love it. It's always debatable. It's always debatable. But go ahead, Larry.
I'm sorry to hurt your feelings tonight, but I will take a box over you anytime.
Yeah.
You guys were just 2 different players.
Yes.
But you were both great players. But I'm gonna say it again. Don't be offended and speak to me when you see me again. Proxy would always be. Well, Cal was always my number 1.
Yes. Yes.
And Proxy would have been my number 2 over you. So you had to come here.
Well, I'm so glad you said that, Larry, because you know when it's funny. Yes. I know who Pink's gonna go for. I know that already. He go for my brother Cal. I know that. You both know that. But the question I want to ask, I'm very glad you said that, Larry. Hey, Pinks and Larry. You know, on a not so much of a sour note. Pinks, I wonder how you feel about what Social Club has gone in the last couple of years. And Larry, for you also, Devonshire Colts up and down. What do you think happened, Pinks, at Social Club? And Larry, for you, what do you think has been your demise, Pinks, if I can ask you that?
Well, the players really, like I said, really no discipline. They didn't have no discipline and stuff, and they couldn't take discipline. So when you sort of done this, they won't come training, you know, and it sort of took everybody's on. Like I sort of lost a little bit of interest. The only person that still put a lot of interest into it, you know, in the players is Whitey. But about players, I mean, you have to be extra strong now to coach them. You know, that because they just don't understand that it takes hard work to get to the top. You know, that's why I started to coach, and I had 2 bad sort of experiences. Because one, I was working on this Sunday, and Mr. Ford had the game, and they was playing St. George's, I think, and down north of this field. And halftime, they was, I don't know. Anyhow, I got a call, said this guy's down here arguing, fighting, whatever. So I go in the change room, I said, okay, no problem, you guys, you can stay here. I just went around to the refs, that's it, bro, give them the game. If they don't want to be disciplined off the field and listen to the guy that's in charge, you know that, it don't make sense to me. Because you're only bringing down the club. You know, they don't care about the club no more. I don't understand these players. You know, they have no real love for the club or for the game.
Right.
And that's why it's so hard for guys coaching now. Even they knew or know a lot about football, it's hard because guys don't put the hard work into it. You know, they don't have the will to be good. And like I tell players, it's just like when you go and watch an entertainer, you pay for it, you expect him to entertain. And I tell them, when spectators come to football, they expect you to entertain. You can't entertain if you haven't put the work in and training. You just can't say, well, this when the game's on, you're going to perform. You got to practice something. You got to put some work in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. And Larry?
And one before that, the other one was that we had played, we was uh, coming up. Actually, we had beat police on the Thursday night.
Right.
Playing the bottom team on the Sunday. And all we needed was a draw to come up. So I got up the field. Yeah. 5 players are the players that started on Thursday night came to the field and says, "Oh, am I in the sport?" And I mean, I won't tell you what was in my mind and all that, but I said, "We had a game Thursday, no training. What do you think?" And part about it, they didn't bring the girl. Good thing they stayed up close, but they weren't prepared.
Mm-hmm.
No business.
Right.
Just because those players weren't prepared, and I said, well, if you wanted to come up, you would have been here to play. Make sure. But you were scared. And
Mm-hmm.
you get scared because you haven't put the work in.
Right.
I don't mind losing. And the other team is bothering me, but I don't like to give up. I don't like to give no team just a win because we're just like sitting ducks. We just sit there, you know. But that's mainly some of it.
Right. I got you. I see. And Larry, about Colts, what do you think has been Colts' up and downs for the last couple of years? What do you think that's come about?
I really, I lost a bit of contact with Coach actually, but I think with Coach is a very young team, and I think that may be one of the issues whereby they have no. I'm only speaking from what I think because I really haven't seen Devonshire Colts play as such, but I know they have a very young team, which is the future actually. But I think every team needed a leader, and I think that's probably something that they neglect having a leader on the pitch. I stand to be corrected because I don't see them play, and I think what assisted my coaching and assisted the success that we had is that both teams that I've coached, we had two great leaders. They were like the coaches on the field. So I didn't have to give too many instructions from the sideline because Joe Trot was the coach on the pitch, and like our thinking capacity was somewhat similar. So something that I would hear some of his directions from the sideline would be something that I would have injected myself. And likewise, Dan, man, if you have a Dennis Brown on your team and his leadership and his knowledge of the game, it's very similar. I don't have to give any instructions. And Dennis Brown will put up his hand and get my attention, and he'll make the substitute from the field. All I have to do is write their paper out. You know what I mean? Because if he put up his hand and he wanted somebody to be substituted, I never question it because that's my leader on the pitch. So I think the difference between the nows and the dans is that I don't see much leadership. Teams don't seem to have that leader on the pitch that's going to help the coach and help the team to see ourselves through to victory. The difference between victory and defeat. Teams have to have a good leader, and I just happen to be blessed with two of the greatest leaders that I know about in this country during my era, and during my coaching, I should say, Joe Trott and Dennis Rock Brown.
And one thing, Earl, one of the things that I really took from Coach outside of his coaching knowledge, man, was his discipline. And I'll never forget when some of the talks that he had with the team that preseason. And one of the things he said is that you have all preseason to prove yourself. when he picks his 11, that's his 11 until he sees fit to make changes. And one of the other things he talked about was, and in those days, we never used to travel during the season. I mean, I never saw snow until I was about 40 because I never traveled during the season. And that's one of the things Larry said. He said, if you're in the 11 and you go away, that means you're giving up your position to somebody else. And when you come back, you're gonna have to fight your backside to get in the team. That still says to me, like I still heard him saying that today. And he made our players play to our strengths. You know, and we have one player in particular, I'll never forget. You know, my center half partner at that time was Goody.
Mhm.
And Wharton was one of the best passers of the ball. So Larry, coach, to every single play, if Wharton's got 50 yards by himself, don't give him the ball. If you give him the ball, you get a substitute. But Joseph had his strengths. Joseph or Mark depends on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those are some of the things that relates to discipline that I really took from Coach, into my coaching as well. Because I came from a prison background, and football to me was easy coaching in football because I worked in a prison environment for 30 years. Football was fun to me, but coaches, like I said, probably one of the best two that ever coached me and was he was special. He was like he talked about Dick Game before his time. He was before his time too. You know what I mean? And he was really, and he still is special because he's still giving information of something to my nephew down with Junior and Long Truck. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's still that.
Pinks, what was some of the best advice given to you as a youngster from anyone regarding football?
Well, there was that it's a teamwork, team game, and you got to pull your weight. There will be mistakes, and also you have to know when to apply what you do in training into a game, or when things are happening in the game, to apply what you done in training. Maybe not that week, but the week before, whatever. And remember that the coach is not blamed. It's you, because you have to put the work in. Y'all on the field. If he tell you pass the ball to somebody and somebody's in between you, that means you have to start using the other ways he tell you what to do if somebody blocks your pass. Not for you to try to still give the ball to the person. And like today, you watch these players, they just, the coach says play the ball to him. But somebody stands in the way, they still try it. You train so that when it happens, when the situation rises in games, you should be able to adapt to it and apply what goes with it. And that's what players tell. Hey, always prepare to change. Don't care what you do in training. I mean, it's not good, but but if what you done in training coming up to their game, if they change 2 or 3 players, that means they might change the way of playing. Then that means you have to change.
Right.
Right. So, and it's not always what coach says. This says that. It's how things go on the field. The coach can't come on the field and stop the game and says, "Well, look, you guys, you got to do this and do that." No.
Right.
But I guarantee you, he has shared you. If this situation occurs in a game, then this is what you have to do. But he cannot tell you when it's going to occur. He just sort of get you ready for when it does occur. But you have to see it. You have to see it.
And for you, Larry?
You got to remember mostly training and the situations that the coaches stops the game or says this or that. It's not just going to training to say, well, you went training. You got to remember everything about your training session. And so that's why it's good. And practice on learn. They say, hey, you want to drill? You got to practice on your own. You got to imagine. sometimes it's a fun day, and this is what you want to do, then you got to practice that.
Right.
You don't always help. You can always need two people. You can do it on yourself. Sometimes they say, hey, you want to learn how to play 1-2s? Gotta move. Gotta roll. Boom, boom, and pick the ball up where you want it. And so, and it's just that you have to put the work in. You got to practice. You got to practice. And I always used to, hey, and that's how I told you, and I really got close. We met in primary school and something played horseback. And after that, we used to go together, train. We have the way, like I said, when I want to go to my feet, he knew by the way I asked for it or say something. We have a very little sayings and all that. When he wants to do ball, hey, we have our sayings, or and that's what you have to do. And I try to practice that and tell players when I was doing a little coach, this is what you got to do. Yeah, that's what.
Mm-hmm.
Larry?
I think my coaching is. I think my coaching strength is knowing how to beat an opposition, and I'll conduct a training session accordingly. And the other thing is that I coach you all, but I can't play for you. So don't expect a whole lot of instructions coming from me from the sideline, because I did it in training. I did it in training. And Dennis would know. We'll do a repetition until such time as you got it and you go to sleep with it at night. So if you train well and you take in the training session, because as we can appreciate as coaches, we're all coaches on this forum tonight, is the fact that if you carry out the training instructions, you should really win the match.
Mm.
And one of my biggest things is that if you play the ball simple, play it from one player to the next player. Sometimes possession can be negative and sometimes it can be positive.
Mhm.
But depending on how the game is going, you change up between negative possession to positive possession. But that's the reason why the beauty of my assistants. You see, I didn't create these winning teams on my own. It was the assistance, and I had to say it over and over again. It was the assistance of Rock Brown at Somerset and Joe Trott at North Village. And I can hear them saying right now, this is what the coach taught us at training session, how to beat this team. Come on, guys, let's get it. Well, Dennis used to curse a little bit, so.
It's not Dennis. Not Dennis.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I never heard Joe Trott.
No.
I was a sailor.
Okay.
But realistically, Earl, my training sessions are very simple. If I'm playing against social club, I would have watched them and I would have known what the weaknesses are. And in the training session, I coach according to how we're going to make the most out of their weaknesses. And if they're weak, we're going to keep them weak. In fact, we're going to weaken them even worse. And that's how a lot of coaches don't do today. They go and they create training sessions, but they do not create a training session how to beat the opposition. And sometimes possession is going to be the key. If you can possess the ball, you can control the game. If you can control the game, you win the game. That's my simple philosophy. And I'm not saying that the ball can't go long, because a long ball is also one of the best passes there is. But you have to entice the person forward so that you can drop the ball over the back. And so those guys helped my coaching to be successful. It was not all about me. those guys helped my coaching to be successful. And I tell people all the time, I don't care what other teams that I get involved with. I would never have another North Village or another Somerset.
Mhm.
They were just exceptional, man. And sometimes, yeah, if Bert Riley, or what's that little guy named Dennis, the small one that I went on Naval Field again.
Wally Brandon.
Ole Brangman, Earl, one day I worked in Somerset, and I used to stop by Naval Field, and I used to see this little guy. And I said, man, this guy is exceptional, man.
Mm.
So I rode on the field one day. He thought I was coming to lock him up. And it looked like he was going to make a little dart for the heels. And I said, no, I'm coming to talk to you. I said, oh, this skill you're playing down Naval Field, why don't you come up Somerset and give it to us? And he came training. And Rock, if you remember, he came training. He trained about 2 training sessions, and I had him in the game. But then, he was a wayward little guy.
Yeah.
And as quick as I got him up to Somerset, as quick as he also went back on Naval Field.
I think once he left that season, because he played that little season,
That's right.
He didn't play anymore. But yeah, he was special. He was, and I was just talking on Facebook today to Colin Thompson about him, how special he was. He was really special, really special.
Mhm.
And so there are those special guys, Earl, that you just have to let them do what they do best.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Bert Riley, for instance. Bert Riley always looked lazy. But Bert Riley was one of the finest blindside runners in Bermuda football.
Mm.
Bert Riley was like a thief in the night.
Yeah.
I'm sure that guy would get on your blind side in a minute, and you don't think he's about to play, but he could see the ball coming before it came, and he'll make that last minute run, and the defender, now I see you, now I don't.
Mm.
And both the teams had exceptional players. Parks was exceptional at North Village. We're not going to even talk about the gumbos of the world that would dribble everybody sick.
Right.
But I just found coaching to be easy in those days because you had the numbers.
Right.
Once you have the numbers, it makes coaching easy.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have, and I have to get back to leadership, once you have 2 great leaders on your team that is going to coach the team from as the game is going on,
Right.
I can save my voice. And Dennis would know very well that very seldom I had to shout from the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of those shout from the bench coaches.
Mm.
I coach you we guys used to train a lot. So I coach you through the week. I certainly not coaching you when the referee blows the whistle. You're on your own. And this is how I help to develop players, the Dennis Browns of the world, and all the rest of the guys I've coached. Let me see how good you can work things out yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final questions, Punch?
Oh yeah, just Larry and for Pinks. I guess it's kind of not on memory lane, but do you feel that we're going to become a powerhouse again in this region? Are we heading in the right direction? Like for Pink's son that's playing, so many youngsters playing overseas. Are we heading in the right direction, you guys? Do you think we're getting there again?
Well, if Dennis can go backwards to about 20 years of age, and if a number of these guys' age can go backwards and then come back forward, then we'll get there. But I don't see us getting there. I don't see us getting there anyway soon, because it's not that they can't play; it's that they lack commitment.
Okay, right.
That's true.
Good point, Larry. And you, Pinks?
Yeah, well, actually, I think the same thing. I don't think we get, like I said, the guys don't have commitment. They don't show you love for the game.
I forgot that one, Pinks, love.
so like they don't really put nothing into the training. I go around now and then and look, and what they do in training, I mean, they do that on the field. They have one speed and slow. You know what I mean? Sort of thing. You got to put the work in, man. You got to have love for the game. You just can't
Right.
say, "Oh, I can go out there and play." Man, this is even yourself just kick around. You have kick arounds because you love the game and you learn things. But as long as you ain't got the love for it, you can play as much football you want. You're not really going to learn much. So as soon as you come off the field, you forget.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You always remember things you love, man. Always.
Thank you for that.
Dennis, any final question?
Yeah, I remember playing in the days where we had like 3,000, 4,000 spectators at any given game, no matter who was playing.
That's true.
To both of you, what was some of the biggest, what were the crowds like when you guys were playing in the first division? They had to be huge.
Crowds were huge.
Well, I mean, put it this way. When we was playing, like I said, on a Sunday, we go to every game had a lot of people. But the few big games, if you want to get a standing spot or a seat, you have to be there about 2:15 for a 3 o'clock game.
Yeah.
And that's it. If you come 3 o'clock, you might not even get engaged. They might tell you, "Oh, well."
Yeah.
Nowadays you can go 1 to 4 and guys and pick a seat.
Yeah.
Because the guys are not performing. They're not. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but I watch games and I see coach can make a substitute, and the guy standing on the side of the field like he wants to sit down. Man, when you're going on for somebody, wait, you look lively, man. Y'all bouncing all around these guys, whatever, but just pull their pants down and make you feel tired just looking at them. And that's another way of showing that you don't love the game. You don't love the game, man. And it's hurting, really, and it's hurting for the spectators to come and pay to watch that. They don't have no feelings for the spectators, nothing. But if they had to go to a show and the person that they see done they on the field, they'll get upset and want to, maybe fight it out. But I don't see us getting there. I don't see us getting there for a long time. And that's we decided to take about 20 youngsters around about, I don't know, 10 now and work. But if we just keep going on the path we're going on now, we not can get there.
Larry?
One more question for Larry, Coach.
Man,
Yeah.
I enjoyed my time of playing football, depth checkouts in that era, because just about every field, no matter who you were playing, just about every, I'm going to use the word stadium, just about every stadium was packed to capacity. Whether it be a Sunday game or a midweek game, people came out to watch football. And so, as we can all appreciate, when you got somebody in the crowd backing you, you're hearing their voices, man, that keeps you on a high. You want to play at the highest level. And so the crowds were huge, Rock. I mean huge. I've never seen a game that I played that the crowds were not less than 2,000-3,000, whether it be Sunday or midweek match.
Yeah, one more question, Dennis?
Yeah, one more question for Coach. And I'm gonna have to disagree with you and Pinks for I think the national team have made some strides in the last couple of years in the region. Do we have a long way to go? Yes, but I think they've made some strides. They got to the Gold Cup and stuff like that, which is a big, huge achievement. And I think they're competing a lot better against, I mean, beating teams like Panama and stuff like that. That's not an easy feat. So I think they have made some strides with the, especially with like the overseas talent that we have. It's always good, yes, but I think they're on upward spiral. The last question for coach that I have for both players or both guys is, if you had any advice for the current player to go to another level, what would it be? What would that advice be? Both of you.
Well, my understanding is that you have to be dedicated. You have to put in extra work. You can't expect the coach to get you fit for a game just by doing training. And you got discipline. You know, yeah.
I think Pinks is probably answered. You got to be committed. And I think one of the things for guys to go to the next level is that it doesn't matter how good your coach might be, you have to work out the game yourself. You have to learn the game yourself, other than at the training sessions. And you have to have the passion from the time the referee blows the whistle until the time the referee blows the whistle for the end of the match. So, without regurgitating what Pink said, you just got to love this game of football, and you got to put more than 100% into training and into your game. And I think if you can do that there, you'll go a long way, not only in the amateur level, but you'll get recognized from a professional level. And yes, Dennis, I do agree that we have made some strides in the national level, and I'm proud of the national team whenever they play. I'm a patriot, man. I'm proud of the national level, but that's because um, maybe they get a different spike when they're playing at national level. Um, but I'm proud of Bermuda, really. We're gonna get there, but I don't know when the clubs.
Right.
We're gonna get there at national level, but I don't know when the clubs are going to get. I don't know whether or not we're gonna have another Summers. I don't know whether or not we're gonna have another North Village, because you know, like man, I had how many guys we used to have, Dennis? About 20.
Today?
I had 20 good players at Somerset. I had 20 good players at North Village. I had 20 plus at North Village because they were more than Somerset. But and everybody wanted to play football. And the beautiful thing about it, and I'll never stop this attitude of mine. I coach you on the field, and I want you to learn. So I can coach you at time the referee blows the whistle. I want you to work things out yourself. And that's why, Rock, I would always have respect for you. And if Joe Trot's listening, I would always have respect for him. You guys made the guys work things out on the field. Don't bother the coach.
Yeah.
And you won't grow. I heard some coaches that they on the sidelines shouting from the time the referee blows the whistle until he stops. Man, how the hell are you going to tell the kid, the player, how to play? Let him play. He's going to make a mistake. Let him work it out himself.
Mhm.
I can't work it out for you. I don't have your boots on. That's my coaching philosophy. I coach at the training ground. You play when the referee blows the whistle.
Yeah.
And I'm not playing with you when the referee blows the whistle. You're on your own. Work it out. And sometimes we're going to fail, as we all know. We're playing football. And if you fail, you're not going to fail for 90 minutes because I'll bring your ass off. But you're gonna fail. And hopefully, by the next training session, I would have noticed your weakness, and we're going to work on that. You better come early because I want you to come early. We're going to work on why you're still doing A, B, C, and D. We don't need the rest of the players. I just want you.
Mm.
I said that to Donovan Thompson at Crossroads. Do you think you can come early so I can work on something that you're lacking? You know, and I couldn't get him to come early, so I said, okay, well, you just play you just play how you play. The guy's right-footed. The guy's right-footed, and I want him to come early so I can work on his left foot. Because by the time he gets the ball on his left side, he's got to do almost a 180 to get it on his right. And I'm saying, boy, you're lucky that you didn't play against me. I kicked the crap out of you. Kick the crap out of you trying to go from your left to your right. And especially Rock as defenders, we know that he's basically right-footed. Boy, I'm going to keep you on your left foot, and as soon as you turn your body to try to go right, your ass is on the ground.
It's great.
I'm a tactical coach. I coach how to win, and you have to win it. I can't win it for you once a referee blows the whistle. I can make a few adjustments at halftime, but that's it. I don't talk a lot at halftime either. I got about 2 or 3 points, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't ask me any dumbass questions at halftime. You know that. Rock, you know that.
I know that.
Yourself, why you ask me that?
Yes, I know that.
Go in the field and work it out.
Yes, sir.
Brilliant.
And those are the players that I like. You don't have to be the greatest player, but if you can carry out the instructions and then demonstrate them in the field, I'm as happy as a pig in a sty.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, and the other thing is Rock probably knows, and Punchy too, I'm not a cone coach. Dio and I get it all the time. I said, man, what the hell you got all these pretty things on the damn field for? Introduce the guys to the field. Every field should have a landmark. Your last third should have a landmark, or your last third is that line, really. But as you enter into the last third, have a look on the left side, and the light pole or the floodlights is in line with where you should be doing the fancy stuff. But in between the two headlines is the midfield of the field. Most teams like that. Look at these spotlights. You got the last third, defensive third, and the midfield third by the floodlights. You can just use them. Play simple at the back in those floodlights. Play simple and a bit more aggressive and in the middle of the park. And if you're gonna do crazy things like Punchy used to do it in the last third. Rock, you get a foul, you get a penalty.
Very well put there, Coach. Yes.
I don't want you doing all that crap in the middle of the field. All you do is get a free kick.
That's that showboat. That's always that showboat, Coach. Yeah.
That's why your showboat. That's why your showboat ended you up in the bench with me.
For sure.
But this is what a lot of coaches don't understand. That's the reason why I really want to retire from football and get into what I do best, and that is to coach coaches.
Yes.
I want somebody else to be Larry. Larry's finished. I want somebody else to be Larry. I want somebody else to have a triple crown. I want somebody else to do that there. And I want somebody to pick up the telephone and call me and say, Coach, can you come down the field and do a session for me? That's what I want. So, and that's why Dio and I get along extremely well. He's not afraid to use the telephone. And I want him to be the best for you. Well, he's not going to be as good as his old man.
Or his uncle.
Then you see more, and he's not going to be as good as his uncle. And we'll get and I may as well throw me in there. And you hell no, you're not going to be as good as but I'm going to work my butt off to make you good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's on the track to be a good coach.
Yes.
Well done. Yes, sir.
Yes.
He is. Good luck to you. Good luck to you.
Sir.
Well,
No.
gentlemen, I do want to thank you very much for your time. This has been a very enjoyable evening. I hope all that have tuned in have enjoyed listening to both Pinks and Larry, taking us back down memory lane and bringing us forward, Larry, in offering your services to coaches, because that's needed as well.
And before I leave, you know why I couldn't kick Pinksy? Because he's like a little snake. He used to wriggle. And by the time I couldn't catch him. You guys have a good night.
All right.
Thank you, Earl.
Night all.
All right,
All right, you guys.